Alright guys, let's get down to business. This is Triptych, leader of the Federated Suns and Battletech Warfare Online. This is your crash course in how to have mech fights in Battletech Warfare Online. I want to do a really fancy video later with all sorts of pretty video and demonstrations of what I'm going to be telling you, but right now I'm not exaggerating when I say we are in the biggest battle that this game has seen so far. The simulation for BWO has been going about a month now, and we are in a fight to the death with the Capellans. They are a smaller faction, which gives them some distinct advantages, because that's the way that Gray has coded the game. And at the same time, we're experiencing some crippling game bugs related to the galactic simulation. But in the meantime, the best I can do is give you guys all the information you need to start fighting and winning these battles. So if you want to be in Federated Suns, watch this video, watch it again, take notes. It's going to be a little bit dry without visuals, but learn from this and you will be ready. So there are some very big differences between playing in BWO and any other system. In the campaign, you are running with pilots that get more and more skills, you are running with custom mechs, and you are running against AI that are very stupid. In skirmish mode, you don't have the pilots or the custom mechs always, but you're still fighting against stupid AI, and you're fighting with balanced teams that will have about the same amount of points. In Battletech Warfare Online, you are fighting against other human beings, and you will not be fighting fair fights. It will be based on what mechs are brought to the fight. So I'm going to start from the beginning and explain everything from the basics. So first we have our pilots. This is the pool of pilots that you can pull from when creating a team. There are a couple notable ones that stick out, and they all have very specific uses. You will note that they have a different combination of skills. None of them are very high skilled though. And each of the unique abilities, such as Master Tactician or Juggernaut, are only on a single pilot. So first we're going to talk about your core pilots. These are Buckshot and Wildfire. Buckshot and Wildfire are the two pilots in the game that have both multi-target and Bulwark. Bulwark is incredibly important, especially when we are having 4-on-4 assault matches. Bulwark allows you to hold any terrain. As long as you get there first and the enemy attacks into you, you will be able to stay braced the entire time. And since we are primarily using LRM boats, the enemy won't be getting out of your range, ever. Of the two, Buckshot is superior. The 6 Guts gives her a plus 15 heat tolerance over Wildfire, whereas the 6 Gunnery is only, 2.5% to hit. So Buckshot first. If you have a Buckshot and you want another one, you take Wildfire. These will be on your stand-and fight mechs. Next up is Mockingbird. Mockingbird should almost always be on your team in the current meta because she's the only pilot who has Bulwark and Sensor Lock. You typically put her, if you say, let's build a lance. We have a Highlander, we have an Awesome T, and we have a Banshee. The Highlander is running PPCs, has an LRM 20. The Awesome has the 2 LRM 15s. The Banshee has 2 PPCs on it. In this situation, the Banshee is your support sniper. These two are your main damage dealers, and this one's going to be running your Sensor Lock, assuming that whatever your other one is also very big. Let's call it an Atlas. Mockingbird's job is to move forward and then hold still and Sensor Lock. Since she can, if she does not move, she can Sensor Lock and maintain brace at all times. You'll typically put her behind an obstacle or off to the side. Next pilot is Apex. Apex is another critical one. This is how I would build this team, and this is actually the exact team that I brought when I fought the new Avalon defense, which I killed 4 enemy mechs and lost nothing. Admittedly, my opponent was new, but still. Apex has the unique ability Breaching Shot. Since this meta involves so much bracing, breaching shot is very useful for breaking targets. In this scenario, I would use her. Now, I should mention, Apex does not have bulwark, and as a non-bulwark pilot, you will need to protect her a bit. When you see an Apex on the enemy team, you're going to attack them first, often, because Apex represents a weak point. So in some ways, you need to keep her back from the fight. In this build, I would put her in an Atlas, because the Atlas specifically has an AC-20, which is a high damage shot, and an LRM-20. This allows Apex to, if you're at range, fire that LRM-20 by itself, and it will go through the enemy's brace and get you some extra damage there. Or, if she's close, you can multi-target and brace. You can hit one person with an AC-20, one person with an SRM-6, and one person with the LRM-20, and pass through brace on all of them. Apex has incredibly good gunnery. Actually, for the new Avalon, I actually had a Highlander. Apex is also extremely good in the Highlander because the Highlander can jump, which means if I'm in a desperate situation and I need to defend and attack, if I need to put her in a dangerous situation, I can jump in order to get the evasion pips, and then I can fire with her. The next pilot is Paradise. Paradise is not used very much in this meta, but he's very important to understand. Paradise has Ace Pilot, which allows him to move after shooting. Typically, your normal multiplayer match would see him in a fire starter. He's almost always in a fire starter. So what you do is, if you are on Initiative 4, you reserve all the way down to Initiative 1, allow every enemy mech to move, and then at the end, you jump him in, attack with his flamers for 40 heat. Then the next turn, you go in Initiative 4, so you move first. You attack them again, you get up to 40 heat, and then you jump out. He has the potential to add any mech to 80 heat. And if you have mechs that move before them, you can then get called shots on them, or at least cause them to lose a turn. You will see him a couple times, and there are specific ways to deal with him that we'll talk about later. Arclight is another important pilot. Because of Master Tactician, her gunnery is really bad, so be careful about putting her on assaults. It's tempting to get them out of Initiative 1, but her gunnery skill is so low, she will miss a lot of shots on these mechs, and even something like a catapult will suffer from her. Arclight has two main purposes. One is if you're going for some sort of a gimmick move, like if you have a short range, I don't even know, if you're running a Banshee or something and you're going to punch them, you could run Arclight on it, and that would allow you to double move an enemy assault. The first turn, you have her braced, sitting in the back, you reserve her down, the enemy assault moves, then you move her forward, like you sprint her forward, and melee them, and then the next turn, you melee them again, or, you move twice. The other thing Arclight is used for is you put her in a Kintaro or something in order to counter Paradise, because that allows her to move in Initiative 4. And if Paradise had done his thing where he reserves and jumps in, then Arclight would have a chance to come punch him or to hit him with a volley before he jumps out. In general, though, she's not that good of a pilot because her gunnery is so low. The only other pilot I tend to use is going to be Showboat. Showboat is useful if you need to have two sensor lockers. If you're running like a 2 catapult team, you can have Showboat and Mockingbird to get 2 sensor lockers, and she's a defensive one. Her only advantage over Witness is the difference in tactics, which I don't believe gives him anything. I think it's like a range, an indirect fire bonus, so she tends to be better. Sumo is very useful in regular skirmish, but not very useful in this skirmish, because Sumo shines when both sides tend to have the same strength of mechs. So if you are mediums going against mediums or heavy going against heavy, you might be able to work with him because he can go in close and he can punch the enemy to lower their initiative around. However, his piloting 2 means that he will become unstable after only 2 ticks of stability damage, which makes him a very big problem. He's too easy to make unstable. You do not want him in an assault versus assault match. A quick note on tonnage. Our faction is currently operating with 2 units, both at a tonnage limit of 7,500 tons, 7,500. If we go over that limit, our maintenance costs increase and we lose quite a lot of money. So, for the most part, we do not mind losing mechs. If we lose mechs, we can rebuild them relatively quickly. Assaults hurt a little bit. We can only build an assault every other day or every third day, but that's still for both factions. So we're still producing about 2/3 of an assault per day. So do not worry about losing tonnage in these fights. Our main goal is to knock out enemy tonnage. Now I'm going to go through the assaults and the way that they're used. The first most valuable mech that we have that we are not able to produce is the Highlander P. It runs the LRM-20 and the PPC, which makes it a great fit for Apex. It has the jump jets, which allow you, if you are in a bad situation where you cannot brace, it allows you to jump and get 3, possibly 4 evasive pips. It does this best in water. If you're in water, you can jump every turn and fire your weapons. You can continuously fire the LRM-20 and the PPC, and then if the enemy comes close, you have the threat of the lasers and the SRMs. Next up is the awesome 8T. These we can build. The LRM-15s and the large lasers are very effective at range. You use the LRM-15s to get the knockdown, hold off on the large lasers until they are on the ground and you can get a called shot to their center torso. Beware that the Awesome has ammo in its center torso, so it is very vulnerable to enemy LRMs. You should usually have it turned sideways in battle. This will cause it to take a bit of leg damage, but it won't get hit in the center torso as much. If your Awesome starts taking damage, you'll back it off and just do indirect fire with the LRMs. Don't worry about the large lasers. We also have the Atlas. The Atlas is useful because it has so many hit points that it can engage smaller lances. Like if you're fighting a heavy or medium lance, your Atlas is almost certain not to die. So it's useful in that situation. I also like them because they do have the LRM-20, which is good for Apex to get her, her breaching shot damage through. At the same time, the Atlas is incredibly dangerous for the enemy to close on you. So if you are running a range team and the enemy tries to get close, the Atlas can punish them heavily for doing that. The Stalker. We don't have very many Stalkers left. We have, I think, 3 of them, and we cannot rebuild them when they die. The Stalker has the LRM-10s, however, they're not nearly as good as an LRM-20, because the LRM-10s, the LRM-20 can be used with breaching shot to get through brace, but the LRM-10s, having 2 separate launchers, makes them a lot weaker. And the large lasers are crap. Unless you are standing in water, you should not be using these. In general, the Stalker is another mech that I would put Mockingbird in. I would have Mockingbird in there, I would take a few steps and brace every turn, or I would take a few steps, maybe sensor lock or hold still in sensor lock until the enemy gets close. And if they do get close, you unleash 1-turn volley on them that will often knock them down and do tons of damage, and then you have to wait a couple turns before you can attack again. Usually your Stalker is going to do all of its damage in 1 turn. If there is water on the map, get your Stalker in the water for sure. The Banshee M that we looked at, it has the 2 PPCs. Its firepower is relatively low for an assault, but it does have the threat of melee. So once again, you can use it as your secondary sniper. If the enemy steps into the open, by all means, unload your PPCs onto them. If they are staying behind stuff, you can walk your Banshee forward slowly, or you can use it to sensor lock, and if they ever do get close, you can melee them with it. We're not disbanding them, but we're not going to build them either. The Zeus is a decent fire support mech. It has the large laser AC5 LRM-15. We will use it as an off sniper. We cannot build more. That's okay. We will not cry when we're out of them. It is useful because it is an assault mech, and there is an initiative deal where having 4 assault mechs can be helpful. The Battlemaster is a similar thing. We're slowly running out of them. We will not cry when they're gone. They're kind of crap. They have the 1 PPC and so many large lasers that, like the Stalker, they can do all their damage in 1 turn, but when that turn is over, they're basically screwed. If you can get them into water, that helps, but because they're short range, you often won't have the option of getting them into water. When we run out, we won't cry for them. The King Crab is very deadly. Be careful if you're on a desert map because it will overheat. Similar to the Atlas, it presents a serious threat if the enemy gets too close to you. There are a couple ways to build it. You can build it using buckshot and use it to brace. If you are double moving the enemy, you can move forward on one turn and brace the second turn. Or you can, if you're feeling safe and if the enemy does not have a lot of LRMs, you can go for Apex. That way you can use the multi-shot to fire two AC-20s and have both of them breach. Only bring an offensive pilot on a King Crab if the enemy is low on LRMs, because otherwise they will mess with it at range. And finally, we have Victors. Victors are such short-range mechs, and because they move in the assault phase, they are very easily outmaneuvered by other mechs. We generally do not use these in a team of 4 assaults, but we will if we have to. And the Banshee E is so worthless that we've already disbanded all of them in order to save tonnage. Now, when the enemy is bringing lots of heavies, if we are engaging in a raid or a recon or any battle that we only have to bring 4 mechs, we're going to try to bring 4 assaults and just overwhelm the enemy. Next up are the heavy mechs. The most valuable heavy mech that we are running right now is the Catapult C1. There are 3 mechs that have identical missiles. That is the Catapult C1, the Jagger Mech A, and the Trebuchet. They all mount 2 LRM-15s. And in this particular case, the Catapult C is still the best. This is because it has the ability to close and do a lot of laser damage later on. You're going to be doing a lot of kiting with these. If you have it with someone like Buckshot, then you will be finding a good position and holding still forever. If you have Apex, Apex can be a decent catapult pilot because she can divide her missiles between multiple targets or just fire one in order to be efficient. If you have her in water, you can jump her and fire both LRM-15s every single turn, and that will keep you at 4 evasive pips, and that will make it so that she really can't be fired back at. The catapult is very valuable for water. If you have it in Bulwark, you stand it in water and then you just hold still with Bulwark, and if the enemy gets close, you can medium laser them every turn. Outside of water, don't use the lasers unless you have the enemy knocked down. The Jagger Mech 6A is a little bit nicer for sniping if you are on an open map. And just to show how ghetto this video is, I had some audio problems and I'm going to splice my voice back into it. So as I was saying, the Jaeger Mech A, because it does have direct fire AC2s, and in this meta, a lot of players are going to be hiding behind obstacles, it can cause problems because you can put a Bulwark pilot in it. However, if you are standing still and you're hoping to keep line of sight, the enemy may move out of your line of sight, and then you're going to have to move your Jaeger Mech in order to get a new firing solution. And when you move it, you won't be able to maintain that brace. In addition, it just has less armor overall and no jump jets, which makes it inferior competition for the catapult. Now, the Orion variants, as well as the Cataphract, are very powerful direct fire support mechs that we use frequently. The Orion has the AC-10 and LRM-15, which allow it to engage at range. At the same time, it has a large amount of armor. In fact, it has more armor than the Victor assault mech, despite being 5 tons lighter, significantly cheaper to build, and being a heavy mech, which means it has better initiative. So the sheer amount of ammunition on there, as well as the ability to punish enemies at short range or long range, makes the Orion just a very solid heavy mech when you're fighting heavy versus heavy lances. The Capellans deploy them in fairly large numbers as well. The Cataphract is a wonderful mech because it mounts both a PPC and an AC-10. The PPC produces a lot of heat, while the AC-10 does not produce very much, which means once you have it in a good position at range, it can fire both weapons every single turn. This is also a very good one for Bulwark if you manage to park it in water, because if you are going out into water, you won't have the advantage of cover from trees, and you won't have the ability to move quickly. So having a Bulwark means you can park it in water and continue to fire its weapons. We also have a class of mechs that are jumpers. We have the Quick Draw 5A, which mounts a large number of medium lasers and SRM weaponry. Once again, it is a good match for Mockingbird. You can jump it around, and you can brace it, and you can use sensor locks until the enemy gets close enough to give you an opportunity. And when they do, you jump forward and you unleash all of your weapons into them. If it's an assault mech, you may be able to hit their rear. The quick draw G swaps out some of these lasers for an LRM, which we do not care about. So in general, we do not use quick draw Gs. There's another jumping option, which is the Grasshopper, and in the campaign or using custom mechs, you can kit this out with a large number of medium lasers and small lasers. However, the stock version is awful. It does not have enough lasers. It has the large laser, which is completely counter to the purpose, and so we do not use Grasshoppers. The Thunderbolt comes in 3 variants, and we do not use any of them. You'll notice here that all 3 variants of the Thunderbolt carry ammo in the center torso. So nominally, they are fire support mechs. The SS variant has a PPC, the SE has jump jets, a LRM-10, and a large laser, and I believe the S just has lasers. And they all have good armor, however, that center torso ammo is just crippling. When you are fighting against one, all you need to do is deal a little bit of damage, and once the CT becomes exposed, you can just multi-target and send some LRMs towards it every single turn, and eventually one of those LRMs is going to cook off the ammo and kill it. Now, because mechs cost less money the less often they are bought, and Thunderbolts have not been bought very much, the Capellans have begun buying them en masse. They're low on funds right now and they need the mechs. So you will be facing a large number of Thunderbolts when you go into battle. Just remember, use SRMs, LRMs, whatever weapons you can to scratch the paint and then begin crit seeking towards their center torso. Finally, we have the Black Knight, the Catapult K, and the Jaeger Mech S, as well as the Dragon. The Dragon is just too light. It has the weaponry of a medium mech. The Black Knight can't even fire its own guns without overheating. So these two are not used in any of our strategies. The Jaeger Mech S does have good long-range firepower. However, as I mentioned, it suffers the problem that many of the opponents you'll be facing will know how to dodge. They will be evading, hiding behind obstacles, and it will be difficult to get a firing solution. It also has ammo in the center torso, so it is easy to destroy. And the Catapult K2 suffers the same problem. It has dual PPCs, however, most of the enemies you're facing will be able to hide behind obstacles. It's a large mech, so it has low initiative, it has no jump jets, and it has low speed. So in general, we are not using very many Catapult Ks. Now, for medium mechs. The single most useful medium mech right now is the Kintaro. This is because it has very good armor for a medium mech, so you can use it as your Mockingbird or as your Showboat. You can use it for bracing and sensor locking while the enemy is at range for your missile mechs. However, it does have high initiative, so if someone tries to come in with a medium and double you, you'll have your Kintaro available to counter them and deal a large amount of damage, and especially stability damage. So you hold on to it, keep it in a forward position, and when an enemy assault goes to close on you, you can come out and unleash all of its missiles in one blow to unsteady the mech and possibly knock them over. So this ability to sensor lock throughout the battle and then deal a large amount of stability damage all at once, especially if you double an assault, you can get 2 volleys off on an assault before they even move, and it's very effective for knocking them down. I don't believe we have the ability to manufacture Kintaros right now, but if we manage to capture more Capellan space, we will get that ability. Next up is the Trebuchet. The Trebuchet, while it does have the same missile effectiveness as the Catapult and Jaeger mech, it simply does not have the heat efficiency. It doesn't have jump jets, it doesn't have very much armor, and it does not have the heat sinks to allow it to fire its LRM-15s. It can't fire both of its LRM-15s every single turn while also moving around. This mech is useful because if you are facing enemy heavies, then you might be able to double attack them using the Trebuchet. The fact that it moves in Initiative 3 is its big value. So we will still bring these sometimes en masse against enemy heavy mechs in order to double move them, knock them down, and kill them. But any time that we're facing assaults or heavier stuff, a catapult is preferable. Where are we got? Oh man, we got a lot of duplicates since they had the new patch. The Blackjack is something the Capellans have used to great effect. The benefit of the Blackjack is that it can fire its AC-2s and jump jet every single turn. These are very good at harassing enemy assaults. If the enemy is bringing 4 assaults and you bring 4 Blackjacks, you can use those to kite them and kill one of the enemy mechs, because when the enemy outmatches you, your goal is to only kill one enemy mech. You can jump jet every turn, getting 4 pips of evasion, and probably landing in cover too. And when you do detect, when there is an enemy mech that is vulnerable, it didn't brace or it doesn't have any evasion, you can jump forward and unload your medium lasers and still jump away without overheating. It also makes a decent sensor locking scout. If you do it with Mockingbird or Showboat, you can jump it forward, sensor lock, jump it around, keep it at 4 or 5 pips of evasion. The Vindicator is a decent jump sniper because it has the ability, it has the PPC and the jump jets, and it has enough heat sinks to continue using the PPC. And it can also dual target with the LRM-5 if you give it someone who has multi-targeting. This is the only pilot I might consider putting Kraken on because he can sensor lock and he can also multi-target. Or even blockade. Because, like I say, you will be jumping and firing the PPC almost every turn. And if you happen to over knock an enemy, meaning he isn't unstable and you hit him with so many missiles that his stability bar becomes completely full, you can multi-target the LRM-5 and the LRM-5 will knock him down. The remainder, the Centurion is alright. The Centurion has a ton of firepower and it has the AC-10, which it can use to knock somebody over. It has the AC-10 and the LRM-10. However, its armor is very low compared to the Kintaro. So it is a backup sensor locker, but we are phasing these out. We're not building any more of them. And the Wyvern, I was going to say it's decent, but no. A couple other mechs, such as the Wyvern and the Griffin, the rest of the mechs that in medium class we do not use at all. The Griffin is awful. It has jump jets and a PPC for sniping. However, the jump jets generate so much heat that it can't jump and use the PPC every turn. The Vindicator is a better sniper. The Griffin S is even worse because it uses lasers. The Shadowhawk is decent. Well, the Shadowhawk D has high firepower, but its armor is so low it will get ripped to shred by bigger mechs. The Shadowhawk H is low on firepower. The Centurion L is just terrible because large lasers are bad. The Wyvern can jump a little bit and hit people with the SRM-6, but once again, it's not worth our time. The Enforcer, similarly, even though it has the AC-10 and the large laser, it does not have the heat efficiency to jump and fire the AC-10 and the large laser every turn. And the AC-10 only has 1 ton of ammo, which will run out after, 8 rounds. So the Enforcer is terrible. The Hunchback P and G are both good at fighting mechs their own size. However, they cannot handle anything bigger, and they get ripped to shreds by the missile spam that is the current meta, so we do not use those. And the Cicada is just crap. I considered using Cicadas for Garrison because they're so cheap, but they increase our tonnage, and we cannot let them increase our tonnage. So we avoid these. In the light class, the only mech we build is Firestarters for the aforementioned jump spam. But even then, you might be able to use a Firestarter to shut down and get a kill on an assault, but for the most part, we don't use them. We might try them out. The Panther is also a decent jump sniper because it has enough heat sinks to jump and fire its PPC every single turn. And it does have the initiative. But in general, we don't tend to make them because a Vindicator can do the job better. And everything else, urban mechs, we do not have. Commandos and Locusts we build because they are low tonnage and we use them to garrison our worlds. Because even though we've now ramped the cost of the Locust up to like 2.5 times its original cost, it's still worth it for us to buy them because we need that 20 tons. We have to keep our tonnage low for our faction. And the Spider we simply can't build. So that is our mech overview. For the most part, if we are fighting a single match, like a raid or a recon, we're going to be aiming for killing the enemy 4 without doing any damage. Or without losing any mechs. We might run 2 assaults and mix in 2 heavies or something. We might try to run something like a Kintaro, or another good counter. If we know for a fact the enemy is bringing light stuff, you could do an Orion with arc light, because your weapons are you're fighting relatively close, and that would put you in the medium initiative, which would allow you to kill off stuff that gets really close to you. But in general, almost all of my teams so far have been Buckshot, Wildfire, Mockingbird, and Apex. And I might possibly swap out for Showboat for Wildfire if I'm running lots of LRMs. Next, I will be talking about maps. Alright guys, hopefully you aren't sick of me yet, because now we get to the fun part. A lot of what I'm going to show today is relevant to all skirmishes, but especially relevant in the asymmetrical battles you're going to be fighting for BWO. Now, what is different from the campaign? As you've seen, your pilots are a little bit lower skilled. None of them have their third ability. You do not get your precision strikes until your fury bar fills up. And honestly, your bar fills up so slowly, you should not consider it part of your strategy. So, we're not getting called shot bonuses. We're not getting extra knock on any of our upgraded weapons. And we are not getting vigilances or these precision strikes. What this means is called shots are much harder to come by. And so the entire point of skirmish multiplayer is doubling. Doubling is when you manipulate the initiative order so that one of your mechs goes twice in a row in comparison to an enemy mech. And I'm going to be demonstrating that today. You will be doing this whether you're fighting a mech heavier than you or the same weight as you. If they are lighter than you, you're going to spend your entire time preventing them from doubling you. So today I have brought the team that I defended Ozawa with. I have 2 catapults, a Centurion, and Kintaro. Kintaro is Mockingbird, Showboat is Centurion, and I have Apex and Buckshot. I am placing myself against a team of 4 assaults just so I can show you how the AI, how to do it when the enemy is working on initiative 1. And in this particular case, I am not expecting to win this fight. My goal is to cause as much damage as I possibly can. So I have decided in this match to send the catapults over to the water because Buckshot can brace, and Apex can do what I mentioned earlier, where she jump jets every single turn and fires, and the water will keep her cool, and she'll be able to keep 4 pips of evasion consistently. Also, if the enemy, they'll be able to hide behind this ridge, break vision if they need to, and if the enemy does come after them, they will already be in the water, and they will be able to fire all 4 of their medium lasers just about every single turn as long as they're standing in the water. So they do have a definite firing advantage if the enemy comes this way. I'm also paying attention to the fact that the enemy has a road through here and a lot of blockage. If they decide to go behind this blockage, I have the definite advantage because I know, or at least I'm guessing here, that I have more LRMs than they do. Now, for a mech that is going to be using Bulwark, these trees are a lot less important because, yes, I can go be in the tree, but I'm also going to be bracing a lot anyway. And let's get you up to here. But so our goal is going to be to have these 2 sit behind here. Both of them are going to be sensor locking. And then when the enemy come around, I might go in for one big attack and try to do as much damage as possible with the catapult supporting. And as I was saying, now these trees, they may not be super important for someone with Bulwark. They still have some very serious advantages. If I were running a jump jet mech, this cover would be very important because, as you can see, I can jump and I can get 4 pips and forest cover. That's the best defense that Apex gets in a turn where she still fires. And let's just sprint her over. Let's jump her there. And that will be a brace. Until you contact the enemy, you want to brace just about every turn. Now, over here, I'm going to take Showboat up as an example. We're just going to move and then possibly brace. And you see I have encountered the enemy. So, for those who are unaware, I'm going to be continuing to use, I'm going to get to finish my turn here. I would have the option of sensor locking one of these. However, if I do, that would be getting line of sight, and it would immediately end my turn, and I wouldn't get a chance to move my other mechs. So I'm going to brace. I'm going to use buckshot, get her a bit further in, and now that Mockingbird is my last mech here, I'm going to go ahead and move up, and then I'm going to sensor lock one of these guys to see what they are, and then it's immediately going to drop. So we're going to sensor lock this one here. And oh look, it is a wildfire. Now, we know, as you can see here, if I was playing this against a human being, I would say, oh look, my entire team can fire now, and he's not braced. I would probably sensor lock one of these guys because they're on rough terrain. I would sensor lock it, I would start missile spamming it, and I would probably get a knockdown. But that's not what I'm going for here, because I want to get a double, and I'm going to show you guys how we do this. So we are going to reserve. Now, there's a bit of a dance that we're going to go through, and this would be especially true if they were a human being who also had missiles. So now this mech has moved forward. It's almost certainly braced. And if I were to sensor lock one of these other mechs, then the mech would move. So I would, if it had some evasive pips or something, I would sensor lock it. They would immediately move it and brace it in order to make it so that the sensor lock was kind of negated. However, if I wait until after they've moved a bit, I would unlock the ability to sensor lock and still get some shots off. In this particular case, we're going to sensor lock with Mockingbird, and we see there we've got what was that? We've got the Highlander P there. And that is sensor locked, but it is braced. We're going to let it get one turn closer, I think. Meanwhile, we're going to sensor lock this guy here and see what he's got going on. Maybe that wasn't rough terrain. I thought it was. Ah, he is on rough terrain. So in this situation, we're going to, a human would not have given this to us, but we are going to go ahead and launch and fire Z missiles and give him some stability damage. He might, as he walks, he might wear it off. Ooh, you see, not a very good hit chance. And we don't have that many missiles. We are packing 240 by 3. 18 volleys? No. 9 volleys? We're not packing very many missiles. However, this is a decent chance to deal some damage. If they were braced, there's no way I would take those shots, by the way, because I need them to get closer and I need to get better shots. And even though I'm at extreme range, it is still better to get a direct shot than it is to get an arcing shot. Because keep in mind, these are low tactics characters. They do take big penalties. Like there, I think that's, oh no, those are still arcing shots. So I actually scan to see if I can get my hands on any shots. So, I believe Battlemaster's not unstable anymore. We're going to try, oh, okay, so we are going to multi-target and breaching shot on both of them. Just to scatter damage, once again, if I was actually fighting this battle, I probably wouldn't do this because they're assaults and it's not going to hurt them. But if these were medium mechs or heavy mechs, I would actually be accomplishing a little bit right now by getting some shots off on them. Once again, we're going to reserve, and then we're going to show you a double. Now, there is one target. I'm not sure I like it as a target. So what we're going to do, we're going to move Showboat. We're not really going to engage with Showboat. We're mostly just doing this in order to use up one of our movements to force them to move another mech, because every mech they move is beneficial to us. So we're going to see if he's in cover. He is he in cover? And you can see they had, that one happens to have Apex. It is in cover. That's pretty rough. I think given the circumstance, I'm probably going to go for this one on the right. So, if I do this, I will take a bit of firepower. I will take a bit of flak. So we're going to... Yeah, we're going to go ahead and engage. So only 2 of these mechs are going to get to fire on me. And I'm going to begin going after this stalker. Excellent choice. So we're here. We are unloading, going for the stability damage. The awesome is going to get a strike. If it was a human player, they should have held still there so that they would get the bulwark ability. However, we're not too worried, and the other one is... what is the other one? Battlemaster, right. So, over here we have Buckshot, who's going to gradually get closer because, yeah, we're going to go fully for the kill here. We're not messing around because I'm making a video to show you guys. So, we are approaching. Get some more stability damage on this guy. Battlemaster is going to unload, but oh, he didn't. I was going to say if he did, he would be hot. Another round. I could have used the breaching shot, but in this case, I'm going for maximum number of hits. Now, because we reserved to the end, we can go again. And I do have line of sight. So now, when I fire, sure, I get my bastion. So you can do this frequently. For example, if I was running a king crab, if I had managed to hold it off until the end, I could do this. You move forward, and then the next turn, if you're able to get away to go first, you can hold still and brace with your bastion. In this way, as long as you can do initiative shenanigans, you can move your mechs around without ever losing your access to your bulwark or to your brace. Now in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and engage. Give me, I like the look of that. I'd rather have 4 pips, but 70s, 85s. There's a sweet spot somewhere. Okay, so we either get the 85s or the 70s. We're going to go for it this way. I am going for the kill, so I'm going for the center torso on this and nothing else. And Apex with her wonderful gunnery. I actually jumped too close there. I think I'm going to leave myself open to a melee attack. I should have gone back, but once again, just an example. And there we're getting into it, and it's going to die soon. I'm pretty sure Shobo's going to be able to finish it. Yes, absolutely. Ooh, we did not get vision, or did we? Okay, that'll work. Hopefully this LRM-10 will do the trick, or we'll get that AC-10 shot. Got it. So you can see what I've done here is effectively that stalker got to move, and after it moved, I moved all 4 of my mechs twice. I got 8 attacks on that stalker in a row, and that is the power of doubling, and that is a lot of what you're going to be doing here. When you are facing overwhelming enemies, you're going to take your troops and you're going to try to double them to get 1 assault mech kill. When you're facing equivalent enemy lances, you're still going to be reserving. Often, both of you are going to reserve all the way down to 1 in the beginning. Wow. Or you could just get a lucky heavy laser headshot to me. But you can see, because these catapults jumped forward, they do have a lot of evasive pips, so they're not completely vulnerable. However, now they're hot, so they're not going to be able to do this anymore. So what do? We look at our options for sprinting. I can sprint super far away. Probably more likely, I'm just going to jump. Jump back, brace. Jump back. And you can see how cover is still useful in these cases. If you are the assault player, you still want to stay in cover. Why? Because if they do this, if they start meleeing you and hitting you with everything they've got, even after they knock you down and remove your brace, you're still going to be in cover and you're still going to have the tree cover. So for assault mechs specifically in this scenario, you actually want to stay in the trees as much as you possibly can, because even your brace can be overwhelmed. And oh, he's going ahead and using Apex. In fact, he might shoot the other one too. Oh, you're gonna get head hits all day. And so as you can see, these guys are both braced with 4 evasive pips, which is their maximum defensive posture. And he is getting shots at me, but the shots are not very effective. And at the same time, he is being forced to build up heat. I mean, he isn't building up very much heat, but he could be. And now here you see Buckshot is actually in a very well-defended position. Apex, not so much. Her center torso is getting kind of messed up, so I will go ahead and jump her back, and we're going to go for this awesome. However, we do still have the ability to shoot with our lasers if we would like. Oh, that's tempting, but it's going to get to move. However, if I were to let it hold still, it would get a chance to hold still and activate Bulwark. So I am going to jump back and focus my fire. And because I'm in water, I'm not overheating like crazy right now. The most valuable thing is the stability damage, which I can rack up. And we are going to go ahead and reserve because we're in a decent position. I really want that guy to move. If I had Showboat around, you see I would have another action I could take, which would allow me to have, to wait longer, basically, to wait until after he had gone. But we are going to try this. I don't know if I don't think I'll get the knockdown. Maybe I will. No, I won't. This may actually be better, though, because he is unsteady now. I believe if he had just braced, he would have removed all the stability damage, but if I had knocked him down, he would have stood right back up immediately. And you see now Buckshot is in a position to knock him down. Oh, shoot, he did brace and removed all the stability. Okay, so I actually lost that opportunity. So you can see if I had waited until after he went, or maybe gone after the other mech, I could have doubled it. And now Mockingbird is out here in the open taking damage. Fortunately, the Kentaro has tons of health. And this awesome, despite not actually falling over, is heavily damaged. So we're gonna move back and brace. Or even sensor lock. Yeah, we're gonna sensor lock here. Only because I know that the AI won't sensor lock me in return. It's not smart enough. Once again, we're going to see what happens when I reserve. Now, I've taken some very heavy damage and taken some stability. So what do? I move that mech next. Oh, shoot. How do you have vision of that? Well, this guy's just going to head hit all my guys to death. So, with Apex, I have the option to jump and defend. I also could just brace to remove the stability damage. As you can see, there is a bar that is flashing down here. So if I jump, I will be able to remove that much stability damage, which is very nice. All I need to do is remove enough that I do not become unsteady anymore. Because I am running a lighter team than the enemy with higher initiative, if he were to knock down the catapult would then go during the heavy phase. Oh yeah. Never, ever walk on unsteady terrain in a multiplayer match. Under any circumstances, by the way. Unless you have not seen the enemy yet, you do not touch unstable terrain, because I'm going to get an assault kill because of it. But as I was saying, if one of your lighter mechs gets knocked over in one of these scenarios, you will be in very big trouble. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go for the water, because all of your advantage, your ability to double, is gonna go away. You may have left yourself. Oh, I lost vision. We're actually gonna hold. I did not realize I'd lose vision. But in this scenario, if you manage to get knocked down, you'll go on their turn and they will hit you very hard. So now, normally I would wait in reserve, but I like this position. I've already given up on life. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can engage into this Highlander. Also, very conveniently, I have a precision strike to use. And I don't care about my heat. I'm going to die. So, always to the center torso. When you're going for these kinds of kills, the center torso matters the most. Unless you are confident that you can deal damage to their side torso and kill them through head hits or something. Or that knocking out a side torso would remove enough of their firepower for it to be worth it. There we go. And no one lives forever. And we are into structure. I don't think we're going to get it. Do you know the reason why? Because I didn't notice my vision for buckshot. Maybe we will. But you can see how one little miss, because you are working so hard to knock them down and kill them before they have a chance to move again, every single one of your mechs needs to be involved in the damage dealing, and I think I got it. Oh, nuts. What are you? 23. So, I have failed to get it, and now he's going to wail on me. However, I do have enough LRMs that I can probably keep hitting him. Oof. I can probably keep hitting him until his center torso takes a hit. So, I'm going to upload another video, which I'm going to link you guys to another video I have on YouTube, which is me with 4 assaults facing down 3 assaults in the heavy during the new Avalon defense. And even though that was a newer player, you're going to see a lot of the ways in which I was able to double him. I was able to move forward with the Banshee and melee, and then I was able to melee a second time and activate Bulwark to get braced. And I was able to, he was attacking my Awesome very heavily, but I was able to keep it from getting knocked down, except for at the very beginning when he caught me off guard. I was able to keep it from getting knocked down simply by repeatedly repeatedly taking its action right when it was becoming unsteady. I would take its action, Brace again. Okay, so that's 23 hit points, and a medium laser does 25. So we are looking for... We're looking for a single medium laser hit. I think I got one. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I'm going to post some videos, and this is what you guys are going to be studying and practicing against each other for a little while, and then we're going to get you involved in some intense battles. Oh boy, you are not giving me good options, are you? Honestly, can I sprint to the water? We're back around here. Yeah, let's just go back and cool off for a while. You guys are going to be practicing facing desperate odds, and you're also going to be practicing, there we go, being the assault mechs and trying to prevent the lighter mechs from doing this to you. And you're going to be practicing relatively even matches where you are trying to get these doubles, because doubles are everything in this mode. And so this has concluded your crash course. Like I said, I'm going to produce better versions of these videos once I have more video footage. And I know that you guys will be picking this up very quickly. I'm going to turn off my mic now, but I am going to finish out this game just so you guys can see how it turns out for me. I think, given the way that the AI is very stupid about holding still and activating Bulwark, I think I'll probably be able to kill them. Also because the AI keeps on walking over rough terrain. So let's see if I'm able to. But for now, this is Triptych signing off. Now you see that was a bad reserve. I forgot that my catapult was in a vulnerable position and I should have jumped it out, but I forgot. It can happen both ways. And you'll see here we are not too hot for LRMs. We're very low on knock now, and now that he's entrenched and out of sight, we can force him to come towards us at least.